Chapter 6. I'll find out myself. Put him down carefully, okay? Cameron said, as Raphael laid Keviar's nearly lifeless body on the silk-laden king-sized bed in his room. I got it, he replied, placing his head on the pillow. His breathing was steady, but his eyes remained closed, and his body remained limber. I've never seen him like that, Raphael said, pulling the covers over him and stretching out his legs. Me either, Cameron replied, looking down at him. She wiped the tear-stained streams from her face as she turned around and looked out at the balcony where he was always staring out at the sky. Cam, don't do that, Raphael said, looking up at her as she moved towards the balcony. Do what? She asked, whipping around to look at him. You know what I mean, he said. I'm not, she started to say, as Raphael glared at her. Well, what else can I do? She asked, bracing against the thick marble stone railing. It's just, she started to say. I know, he said. No, you don't, she snapped. Sorry. You don't know what it's like to be useless all the time, she said brokenly, looking up at the moon again. What it's like, constantly slapped in the face that I can't do anything useful, she continued. Come on, Cam. He's all right. The medic said it's fine, he said, joining her on the balcony. I know he's fine, she replied. But seeing that, what if it was something serious, she asked, folding her arms as she receded into her emotional bubble. It wasn't, he replied, trying to console her. And it's not just Kev, she said, looking up again. We're supposed to feel some kind of energy from the moon, right? She asked. I guess so, Raph replied unsurely. The elegance of the moon's glow struck her brilliant blue eyes as tears streamed down her face again. But I don't feel anything. I don't either, Raphael said, looking up at it too, his green eyes shimmering in Magni's silverish glow. But at least you know how to use your ability, she said, looking over at him. I can barely even move a drop of water without feeling drained, she said, looking at her open palm. A water user in Kane with no clue how to actually use water, she chuckled, shaking her head. And a stupid emotional princess, she said to herself. Don't say that. Come on, Cam, Raphael said, trying to understand her pain. Dad's just protective, you know, he said, emotionless. I can make a few vines and flowers here and there, but I'm pretty much in the same place as you. And Kev, there's no one here to train him. He's just trying his best, he continued. If you're suggesting that I learn from her and her heinous family, she started to say. No, he said slowly. I know you two will probably never be friends again, but if you want to learn, you gotta find a teacher, you know, she continued, his deep, debilitating voice echoing off the balcony. I know. I'm just scared, she said brokenly, scared of more change. I'm sorry for all this, she said. I know you're not a big emotion guy, but thank you, she continued. Yeah, no worries, he said monotonically. Kev will be all right, though, he continued. Yeah, I just wish he'd wake up already and say something dumb like always, she replied. You two love making a fuss over me, huh? Keviar said behind them from the bed as he rubbed his eyes. Kev? Cameron said as she turned around, almost breaking her neck. Yeah, who else? He said, with a feeble chuckle as he tried to get up. No, don't get up yet, you gotta rest, she said, as she ran to his bedside from the balcony, followed by Raphael. I'm fine, I promise, he said, swinging his feet off the bed to the floor as he sat up. Are you sure? She asked, looking him in the eyes. Yes, I'm sure. Then what in the almighty just happened? She asked, sitting at the edge of the bed. The red silken sheets flopped to the floor as her basic two-piece exposing her toned stomach met the bed. It was nothing, he said, smiling, trying to play it off. I swear. I will pop you in your head right now, don't lie to me, she said, a sudden wash of seriousness entering her voice. It's nothing, he said, still trying to convince them. Bro, that wasn't nothing, Raphael said, chiming in. It just happens sometimes, he stuttered. Usually at night when everyone's asleep or something. I promise it's no big deal, he said. That's happened before? She asked, looking concerned. Yeah, but like I said, you don't need to worry about it, he said, rubbing his neck. She's already worrying about it, bro, Raphael said, bracing against the bottom of the bed frame, his eyes barely visible through his hair. It's okay, it just happens from time to time, he said, gesturing with his hands trying to appease them. Do you think it has to do with you being... She started to say. No, I don't think being a wind user causes panic attacks. Come on now, he said jokingly. Well, it has to be something, she replied. It's just something that happens. Don't worry about it, really, he continued. Oh, you're up, Dante said as he slid the door open, entering with Johann and a cup of tea in his hand. Dad? Keviar asked, looking up at them as they entered the room. The medic said that we should bring you some herbal tea for when you wake up, Dante said, walking towards them, his graying beard shimmering in the moonlight as it poured through the windows. How are you doing? He asked, handing Keviar the piping hot tea. I'm good, I promise, he replied. You sure? Dante asked. We can call the medic again, you know. Medic, he yelped, startling everyone. Dad, I'm fine, I promise, he said, getting up. But you're sure, he continued, placing his hands on Keviar's shoulders. I think I just need some rest, Dad. I believe Sir Keviar is right, sir, Johann said as he looked on behind them. He must be tired from that whole ordeal. Yeah, thanks, Johann, Keviar said with gratitude in his voice. Are you sure? We could... Dante started to say. Dad, I think Johann is right. Let's leave Kev to get some rest, Cameron butted in as she got up from the bed. But, no buts. Come on, Dad, let's go, she said, cutting him off again. Come on, Raph. Thanks, Com, Keviar said, smiling. Just let Johann know if you need anything, he'll let me know, he said as Cameron pulled him towards the door. Dad, come on, she persisted as they got to the hallway. I will. Thanks, Dad, he yelled as Raphael slid the door shut. Good night. As they walked away, he could hear Dante whining as he tried to find an excuse to come back and check on him. As the hallway grew quiet, he turned around and sat down on the bed, placing the tea on the stand next to the bed as he turned his gaze towards the balcony again. The lanterns buzzing along the palace grounds filled the air as the stillness of night finally crept into his bones. Alone again. That one was different, he said to himself as he wrapped his arms around his legs. The golden hoop earring on his helix flopped down on his ear as the cold metal sent a brief shiver down his body. His caramel skin and bright gray eyes were now dull and pale as he grappled with the intense grief that raged on in his mind. It's getting stronger, he said again. This was the first time he had a panic attack in front of anyone, much less in front of his family, and it was worse than he could have imagined. The look on their faces, the terror in their eyes as he struggled to breathe. Giving them more to worry about was the last thing he wanted to do. As he slowly got out of bed, his feet kissed the cold hardwood floor as he walked to the balcony yet again. The one place where he could sit and drift away from the looming dark cloud of pain and grief that surrounded his family. The pain he tried to lessen, but only made worse. But something was different tonight. Something new, a new feeling. This wasn't the suffocating grief that normally shrouded the palace at night. This felt light. As he looked out onto the horizon, he could see the capital city in the distance as it stretched to the edge of the forest to the south. Something's coming, he said. He didn't know if it was good or bad, but something was coming. Something's changed, he said to himself. And it's moving, he continued. As a sharp wave of determination washed over him, he looked up toward the clouds grazing the sky. I won't tell them about this, he said. I gave them enough to worry about. I'll find out myself.